Ciao, ciao. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. I'm just going to wait a few seconds before I get started. Beautiful morning here in Melbourne, Australia, and I hope everyone is having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. Well, here we are. Oh, I can see some people have joined. Ciao, hi to you all. Buongiorno, buonasera. Welcome. This is Katie. I'm Katie. I am your host in the Italy Travel Planning Group, and I'm also the founder of Untold Italy, which is a podcast and a website, and it's now a tour company as well. So I'm really happy that you've joined me here today because I wanted to share with you some tips about planning your Italy travel, which is, it's getting pretty exciting, although we do also have a few concerns, obviously, at the moment, but I'll address those later. But today, what I wanted to talk to you about is itinerary overwhelm. So, well, I know a lot of people feel this, and guess what? So do I. I've had over probably 30 trips to Italy, and we've got a big one coming up in June, which is going to be, I think it's going to be 5 weeks for me, which is exciting. And I'm overwhelmed. So it doesn't matter if you're overwhelmed. I've been to Italy many, many times. And I think the problem for me is that there's just so many things you want to pack into your trip. There's so much to do and see. And there's also so much information out there that, like you're trying to absorb it all. What's good information, what's bad information, what's relevant to you. So I think that just all goes to creating a whole heap of overwhelm that we can probably all do without. Anyway, so what I thought I would do is give you some tips on how to sort of combat this, and then if anyone's got any questions, just pop them in the message box down below. I'm happy to answer a few questions. Okay, so as I said, I'm Katie. I'm the founder of Untold Italy, which is a podcast, and if you haven't listened to our podcast, I'd really love you to. It's my passion. I am so excited to bring you chats with people from all over Italy and all over the world that just love Italy every week, and I've been doing it since 2020, the start of 2020, and we've managed to go through the pandemic and just keep going. And it's really a joy to bring that to our listeners every week. Okay, so tips, what to do when you're getting overwhelmed. Well, the first thing you've got to do is accept that you cannot see everything in Italy, and that's okay. I think people try and really squash a lot into their trips and just try and go, oh, I want to see everything. I've got to see Rome, I've got to see Florence, I've got to see Venice. Well, the thing is, you can't. So even after 30 trips, I mean, I've barely scratched the surface. There's so many regions I haven't been to yet, and there's so many places that I want to go. And the thing is, you can't see it all. Like, there's just so much history. There's so many places. There's so just many beautiful beaches, mountains, lakes, towns. You're never going to see it all. So once you accept that, it sort of becomes a little bit more relaxing, and you sort of go with that and sort of think, well, okay, what are the things that you really, really, really want to see and experience? So that's a really big thing for me, is what do you want to experience? So, for me on this trip, we really wanted to go deep into some of the food areas around Emilia Romagna. So we're going to be staying at an acciaia. I'm going to get that accent right, near to Modena, and we're going to be staying around there and doing a few things like that. So that's a really important thing for me, but that might not be important for you. So I think, there's heaps of things you can do, but you've really got to look inside your heart and find out what are those things that you really, really want to do. Okay, now there's some few easy shortcuts that a lot of people tend to use when they're getting overwhelmed with their trip planning. And here's some of the ones that you can copy itineraries, and you can find them on the web. So there's so many people. If you Google Italy itinerary, you'll find a heap of examples of Italian itineraries that you can copy if you're trying to organize all the travel for yourself, which is what most of the people in our group are trying to do. Now, the problem with this is first of all, you might not know who the people are that have built this itinerary, or whether they've got a similar travel style to you, whether they like the same things. And you also may not know like how much experience they've had. And I think, you can see a lot of videos on YouTube, and trust me, I Google this all the time in the YouTube search. And you see things, and they're people that may not have had a lot of experience traveling in Italy. And you can tell because some of the things they suggest are like pretty out there and like really, really, really fast paced. So, like, I think you just really got to interrogate who's sort of promoting these itineraries and what is their experience traveling in Italy. So that's my number one tip, is that you can copy itineraries. And we actually have got some itineraries on our website, which I'll pop into the notes below later, that you can copy too. Now, the thing is, I worked on this for a very long time, and you can see that I've put in a lot of detail around those itineraries about getting trains and how to manage the logistics and all of that. And so that is a big thing, because if you're going to be going and trying to do Rome, Florence, Venice, plus a side trip to the Cinque Terre in, like, say 2 weeks, you're going to need to go, you're going to have some serious logistics planning. And so, I've given you that information in our itineraries, but there are a lot of itineraries out there that don't have that. So make sure you just have a little dig into who these people are and what they're offering. Now, having said that, there's so many amazing itineraries out there that have been built by, and a lot of people that I know, that fellow bloggers that have built some amazing itineraries. So yeah, just make sure you just interrogate and just look in a little bit closer about who the people are that are giving these tips. Okay. Now, the other thing you can do is, if you're just getting completely overwhelmed, you can actually join a tour. And you know what? These people, they really know the logistics, and they have got it down to a fine art. So even if, like, if you just feel like you just can't be wanting to deal with all the transport and all of that sort of stuff, you can join a tour. It's no problem, and I think that's a really good way to do it if it's your first time. And you don't have to do your full trip as a tour. You can do a tour as part of your trip, so then you can add on little bits to the side and all of that. So I think that's a good tip. I did a tour on my first trip to Italy many, many moons ago, and it was great trip, and I've still got the journal that I wrote on that trip, and it inspired a lifetime of adventures. So I think there's nothing wrong with doing a tour if you're a little bit nervous. And yeah, what I would do is just have the tour, and also build in some independent free time around that. Okay, so that's the first tip. Copy the itineraries and join a tour if you're feeling really nervous. But what I wanted to say to you, and this is really important to me, and what is the philosophy behind Untold Italy, is that you'll have a really great trip if you do that way. But you can have an even better one, and a much more one that's meaningful to you if you do this. And that is, you really look inside your heart and ask yourself, why is it that you want to go to Italy? Like, is it that you want to go discover some family roots, or you want to go delve into your love of history and art and food? Or what is it that is pulling you to Italy? And really make sure you understand that and understand what it is. Because if you focus on that and you focus on the things that you want to do around those themes, then your trip's going to be absolutely incredible, because you take out all the noise and the stuff that's, causing you a bit of stress, and just focus on those things that you really want to look into. So, for example, a lot of people say, oh, you've got to go to see the Vatican museums. Well, you know what? I love art, I love history, and I think there's nothing more incredible than those museums. However, if that's not your thing, why would you waste half a day, or and a lot, sometimes it's quite a lot of money on actually going through that museum? You don't have to do that. There's no rule that says you have to do that. Okay, so just, if you want to go and sit and try 5 different versions of carbonara, I'd say go do it, because you're going to have an amazing trip, and that's going to be the thing that's going to stand out for you. The other thing is, like, some people really love football, and there's no better place in the world than to watch football, and I mean soccer here, than Italy. Go do it. Go do it. Go have fun. Don't burn that precious time on things that you're really not that interested in. It's really like I just feel so passionately about that. And the other thing is, I know there's a lot of people say, oh, you've got to do a cooking class or you've got to do this and that. Well, the thing is, if you don't like cooking, why would you do a cooking class? Like again, it's one of those things where you just got to sort of not follow the herd and just really go with really the things that you want to do. So I'm really passionate about that, and we really try and help people discover those things that are really going to make their trip super special. Okay, so the next thing is spend at least 3 days 3 days in each place. So you minimize having to plan all the connections and transport. If you're trying to run around and do, the grand tour, which is, Rome, Florence, Venice, plus some side trips to Tuscany and the Amalfi Coast, or Tuscany and Cinque Terre, I wouldn't even try and fit Amalfi Coast into that. Well, there's a lot of transport connections in that. You're going to be spending a lot of times on trains and a lot of times in train stations and getting around and getting to your accommodation and getting back. So just what we try and do in all our trips now is spend 3 days, because then you have time to settle in, time to look around and, get your bearings and all of that sort of stuff, and then go and explore and relax and just enjoy what you're doing. Now, having said that, you know what? Everyone travels differently and everyone wants something different out of their trip. So I'm not here to judge anyone about how their travel style. And in fact, this is maybe a little bit controversial, but I know there are a lot of people say slow down and, soak it all up and all that. And I totally think that that's true. However, I've been lucky enough to go many, many times and I'm able to do that. And I understand that people who don't have so much time and may not be able to return to Italy, they may not have that opportunity. So it's really about, I don't like to judge people on how they want to travel. I think that they just need to be aware that if you choose to travel in a very fast way where you're only staying away maybe 1 or 2 nights in each place, you're really going to have a lot of challenges around transport and logistics and trying to, get from point A to point B. And so I really feel strongly about this, because every now and again we get people jumping in the group and saying, oh, everyone's got to slow down. Well, it's possible for some people, but for other people, it may not be. So if you really want to go and see a lot of places in a short amount of time, honestly, the best way to do it is to get a tour. They know how to do the logistics and they've got that all down to a very fine art. So I think that if you if you really want to see a lot of places, that's the way to do it. Trying to do that on your own, it's a little bit challenging. All right, so say 3 days in each place if you can. And then what I do then is break it down into morning, afternoon, and evening. And I know this sounds really basic, but sometimes if you have these little chunks of hours, then you can really sort of see how things are playing out. And I only really schedule one thing in each of those. And that it might even be a dinner, or it might be like going to visit a museum, or even just like sitting in the piazza, so there's downtime. So for example, we're going to, in this trip that we've got coming up in June, we're going to be going, I've got my kids coming with me, which is so exciting. They're really excited to go back to Italy after quite a long time. And we're going to be, in the morning, we're going to be doing some sightseeing and going around and doing a few things like tasting cheese. Why not? And all of that. But in the afternoon, because, they're kids and they want to have some downtime, we're going to be spending, I've booked places with pools so they can have their downtime and splash around in the pool. And I just think that that's just, that's what's going to work for us, because I know my kids and I know their tolerance for, small pretty towns is going to be wearing fairly thin quickly. So I love them and it's good for me, but we have to sort of balance out everyone's needs. So yeah, 3 days in each place, and then break each down into morning, afternoon, and evening. And when your energy is right as well. So I'm a morning person, which is why I'm doing this live on a Monday morning, and that's when I've got my highest energy. So that seems to me the best time. Now, I would say as well, Europeans don't tend to get up before 10 o'clock. So if you are an early riser, you can actually pack quite a lot into the day without a lot of crowds. So for me, that's like a bonus tip, because basically I don't like crowds so much. So we get out and about in the morning and then we go and chill out in the afternoon. It kind of works for us. Okay. Now, just again to reiterate, you won't cover everything, but if you do things this way, you will cover the things that matter most to you. Now, I think I just can't stress that enough. You've got to really find those things that are going to make your trip. So if that's, having a gondola ride in the moonlight, go for it. Do it. If that's, taking a Vespa tour around Rome, do that. If that's just walking around to the Aventine keyhole and looking through that little keyhole and seeing the Vatican, St. Peter's in the distance and having that optical illusion, which sort of rings my bells, then just build that in. But don't try and squish everything in, because you can't. You simply can't. Anyway, the last point I wanted to make, if you're feeling really, really overwhelmed, hiring a travel agent or a planner to assist you is a really great idea. Just make sure that they're experts in travel in Italy. There are a lot of general travel agents out there that are not going to really give you a lot of value. You'll get more value spending time researching on our site here and basically, asking questions. So a general travel agent's not probably the best way to go, but if you do know someone that is a really experienced in travel in Italy, then they are the people that will be able to help you. You can have a travel agent that will do all the bookings for you, but there's also the idea of a travel planner. Now, my friend Danielle from Feast Travel, she does this, and she, I would trust her to. Now, I'm a control freak that loves to plan my itinerary very closely, but I would hand my itinerary over to Danielle. That's how much I trust her. Anyway, she's from Feast Travel, and I will put her details in the bottom. So if you're really feeling like you want some assistance with, just getting all the logistics and everything organized, and she's special. Okay, so, I've covered a little bit of ground here, and what I wanted to do is just summarize. Look, it's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of planning a trip. And look, it's really important, if you do nothing else, is to slow down a little bit in your planning and just ask yourself what you want out of your trip, and just make sure that if that's, I just want to be able to sit and drink a glass of wine overlooking the sea in Cinque Terre or in some seaside town, then make sure that that's in your trip. And if that's nothing else, that's what you're going to get, and it's going to be incredible. Okay, so I like to choose maybe 4 things that the absolute must do's, and the rest of it, it's going to be amazing. But if those are the things that are so important to you, make sure that that's what you include in your trip, and just try not to copy what everyone else thinks. So in our group, we see a lot of people like, what do you think we should do in Rome? Well, Rome, you can fill a lifetime of exploring. So really look at things that you want to do. If you're really into Roman history, then there's so many cool things to do, right? But so I encourage you in the group to ask really detailed questions and get really specific about what it is that you like. Anyway, so that's one. Now, we have some other resources on our website that is completely free, which we have an article that's called How to Plan a Trip to Italy, which takes you step by step through the trip planning process, so you can have some guidance, because even if you hire a travel agent or you go on a tour, you're probably going to need to do some of these steps anyway. So it's a good idea to have like a kind of checklist, which we also offer on there. If you don't have it already, you can go to that site and you can grab the checklist there too. And for those of you who are really, really fastidious in their planning, we have like a printable planner that you can print out, which has got Italy specific. It's not a general travel planner, it's an Italy specific planner that will help you guide you plan your trip. And so I will pop the link for that onto below here in a minute too. Cool. All right. Well, that went a little bit longer than what I thought. And I just wanted to say hello to everyone. We're going to do this weekly. And I think next week I'm going to introduce you to a few different places that you might not have heard of. And I'm going to do a comparison between these 2 places, because another passion of mine is to help you go beyond the real main tourist areas and really discover Italy, which is kind of a bit off the beaten path, but it's not really, because it's so easy to get to. So I'm going to explain to you about these regions, what's really special about them, and how to discover them for yourself, and also how to do that if you want to come and join us on tour. Now, look, Italy is 20 regions, and it's probably more like 40 different areas, you know, even more. Like, there's different languages, there's different culture, there's different food. Go out and explore, have a great time. I love hearing everyone's feedback, and thank you, you know, for all of your amazing, amazing generosity to each other and kindness. We have, you know, a lot of people in this group, and it's easy. Some of these big groups can get a little bit heated and all of that. And I have to say that our moderator team is just so pleased every day that we don't really have too many little arguments or spats, because I think everyone's here just really here to help each other plan and help each other have a great time in Italy. And that makes me really happy, and it makes our moderator team really happy. And, you know, I think a happy little group is a happy place to be, and I hope that everyone enjoys it. Now, I've just had a comment from someone, which I'm going to show, that they love all our tips, and thanks for doing these videos. Yes, I love doing these videos too, actually. I do. I love them, and I love doing our podcast. So if you haven't joined our podcast, then I'd love you to come and join us there too. So everyone, before I go, I did wanted to mention one thing. I know a lot of people are concerned about the situation in Ukraine. I'm actually really upset about this. I feel awful, and it's just, how can I put this? You know, no one needs this. We've had a really rough 2 years already, and like the poor people of Ukraine, situation over there it's quite a long way from Italy, and I understand why people could be concerned that the situation will escalate. What I would say is, if you're worried about the situation there, and you're going to spend a lot of time worrying about it in the lead up to your trip and during your trip, then it's probably the best idea to postpone it, because that's going to spoil your vacation, right? So if you're not, and you're prepared to, you know, just keep going and planning the way that you want, then, and that's what I'm doing. We're going in June, and I have to put faith in the fact that everything's going to be okay. If it's not, we've got bigger problems in the world. You know, that's the fact of the matter. You know, that is the fact. And sadly, you know, the people of Ukraine have got much bigger problems right now. So I'm putting my energy into thinking about them and doing little things that I can do to help them financially and morally as well. I think that, you know, we will hopefully get through this, but at this point, I think worrying, I'm not putting a lot of energy into worrying about my trip. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, Rich. Hi, Rich. Rich said he had to cancel his trip in January, now set for November, and you can't wait. You've never been to Italy, Rich. Oh my God, you're going to have an amazing time, and you're going to be there for 40 days. That's amazing. Amazing. It's a dream. I know. It's so exciting. I'm excited for you. And I'm so excited too. And, you know, when I'm going to keep doing these lives regularly, and when I'm in Italy, I'll be doing them live from Italy. So hopefully you'll see some amazing places that you may not have thought to visit. And I'm really excited to share them with you as well. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Once again, if you're worried about Ukraine, I completely understand it. I do. But, you know, no one's got a crystal ball right now. We can't predict the future. And we just have to keep going on and plan, and, you know, trust that everything's going to be fine. And, you know, I really hope that everyone can make it to Italy as soon as possible. And I can't wait to see all your photos and see all your amazing updates and insights, because that's, to be honest, over the last 2 years, that's what's kept me going too. Okay, everyone. Well, I hope you all have a beautiful week, and keep dreaming of Italy, and ciao for now. Bye.